How's it going, guys? It's Wednesday, May 5th, and you're tuning to 2.5 Hoopers, Bino Udrich's favorite basketball podcast. I'm here with Josh Rhodes.
Hey, guys.
And I know George liked that one. I haven't heard Bino Udrich's name in a few years.
He was always like a budget baller in 2K when I used to play like the My Team mode, so salute.
Well, you're a budget baller when it comes to fashion in that $2 tank top, but we're happy to have you. Full squad here. We got a good podcast for you guys. Recap last 2 days of ball. Georgia's halftime, which is pretty short but pretty sweet. And end it off, I'm going to give the guys some questions. I don't know. I need to know the answers to. Remember, if you like what you're, make sure to follow us at THHoopers, Instagram and Twitter. Last post, I think Empire Records is back. So we're back on top. I'm feeling good about it.
He leaves us on red, man.
They keep telling us to check our DMs. There's no DMs. I'm starting to think it's a bot at this point, but fingers crossed it's not. But we're going to get right into it. Monday, May 3rd, Magic beat the Pistons 119-112. Hawks beat the Blazers 123-114. Contributing to the stat that Josh brought up a few podcasts ago, Blazers struggle against teams above 500. Sixers beat the Bulls 106-94. And Jazz beat the Spurs 110-99. First game we're going to talk about here. We had two Wizards beat the Pacers 154-141. This was all Russ. That's really the main reason we're talking about this. Plus, it's always fun watching the Wizards. Russell Westbrook had a historic stat line: 14 points, 21 boards, 24 assists. I believe the historic was most assists in a triple-double. I know George was texting me. Is he going to catch Scotty Skiles? He did not. He did not. 6 assists is a lot as well, but he did not catch Scotty Skiles. How many shots do you think he took this game, George?
4.
8. So I guess my point is mute because you lowballed it. Thank God. But yeah, Bradley Beal 26, Roy Hachimura 27. So that's where those assists went. And then for the Pacers, as full of a squad as they're getting, they're missing Brogdon, they're missing Turner, missing almost everyone, but they did have Sabonis, they did have LeVert, and they both scored over 30. So not a whole lot to take from this game, a lot of scoring, but I just want to, as the only other guy that likes Russell Westbrook on this podcast, George, I want to hear from you first.
So like you alluded to with him breaking records, he is the only player in NBA history with multiple 20 rebound, 20 assist games. He broke that record previously held by Wilt Chamberlain. And anytime you break a record that was set by Wilt Chamberlain, you're in very good company, unless you're Josh. So, Russ has been absolutely fantastic. He's taken them out of the mud, basically. He actually said he was playing with a torn quad earlier in the season, which we kind of had speculated on because of the slow start. Now that he's fully healthy, he's basically shown us what he's been doing the last few years, and he's been incredible. And, I don't know if we're going to see another – I don't want to say like another player like him because, it was like Oscar first, then him. But, his play style and his motor is generational.
Yeah, so I see Josh in his blue light glasses tapping on his computer, trying to, and he maybe brought up a stat. Russell Westbrook shot under 50%, in the month of April. But I'll give a few more stats and I'll let Josh take us home here because, like I said, it's mostly just Russell Westbrook based. He could average 0.0 rebounds and 0 assists for the rest of the season and still finish with a triple double. He's averaging, I believe, 23, 11.5, and 11.5, which, oh my goodness. And like George said or alluded to, Scott Brooks, the coach of the Thunder, young Westbrook days, and the Wizards coach right now, said that he is the second best point guard of all time behind Magic Johnson. Now, I love the guy a lot. I believe it's a tad biased, but Josh, how does that make you feel?
I'm gonna need to see the MRI of his torn quad before I believe that sob story that he's trying to incorporate.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse legs. George said it's an injury. He's injured.
But regardless, it's not only Beal and Hachimura. The whole team got involved. Everybody that played, beside Raul Neto, scored over 10 points. So that's a very good sign. They were putting.
And Raul Neto 9.
Yeah, the Pacers couldn't play a lick of defense, which is unfortunate. But no, Russell Westbrook is really playing out of his mind. There's not much to say. However, I want to see this in the playoffs before we're talking big things. He's breaking all these crazy records, but that's where the cookie crumbles right there. Come playoff time.
Okay, well, I'll be the first to say there will be 2 playoff games for the Washington Wizards.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, because
both of them to play in. Actually,
The play doesn't even count towards the playoffs, man.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. I'll have to figure out. No, they're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna win the play, and they're gonna get into the playoffs. But there will be 7 Washington Wizards playoff games, 2 play-ins, and it's gonna go 5. They're gonna get a game on
Boston, Charlotte,
Joel Embiid,
Indiana. Those are the teams.
I got them against everyone in the play-in.
Boston.
Even
who's
Boston.
guarding Tatum? Who's guarding Tatum?
Who's guarding Westbrook? Kemba? Shit.
Marcus Smart.
You put Smart on Beal. Anywho, anything else to add from this game?
No.
Well, now it's time for the. I know me and George caught it. It was a good time. Warriors beat the Pelicans 123-108 in the Marvel-themed ESPN 2 game. Couldn't put it on ESPN 1.
Shout out Draymond.
Draymond was your MVP. That stands for Marvel Valuable Player.
That's not it.
Not to be confused with the MVP in football, but you know how that goes.
Nickelodeon.
So Draymond won this because I'll break this down. I don't need to break it down. It's pretty simple. You get 1 point for points, rebounds, assists, made field goals, all that stuff. You lose points for a missed shot and a turnover. And Draymond filled the box score: 10 points, 13 rebounds, 15 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and only missed 1 shot. So even though Steph had his usual 41 points, he was not the Marvel Most Valuable Player this time. But George, I know this was my look ahead, but you made the bold prediction that Pelicans are going to make the playoffs, and I know we'll touch on that a little bit. This was a baseball style series, and they split the series 1-1. So I'd like you to kind of touch on both of them. But what did you think of the Marvel style broadcast there? Because I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the animations, from the shots, the dunks, the little hero scoreboard on the bottom, and, having like Richard Jefferson just being himself and, having like the Infinity Gauntlet.
He saved that broadcast because it was a blowout early, and he was just doing RJ things. Infinity
Gauntlet, Iron Man costume, doing everything. And, they had a special Marvel guest. She helped a lot too. But, game-wise, Steph and Draymond were phenomenal once again. That duo has been incredible for them all season in the games they've needed to win. And Draymond all around game, he's scored in double digits, which basically whenever he does that, they win. It's anytime he scores more than 8, I think they have like an 80% chance of winning. So just getting him over that threshold, and Steph being Steph, another 40-point game, he's been lighting up box scores all year.
So yeah, Josh, did you want to comment on the baseball style series? Because they did do a 1-1. I want to touch on that. Steph Curry had 37 in the second game and 41 in the first. But the Pelicans won the second game mostly due to Lonzo Ball's 33. Another 33-point game. I know that also ties his career high again, so he's done it twice this season. And then he went 7 for 13 from 3. What are you with George in this one? Pelicans playoff push or?
It's kind of funny that they lost the primetime game and won the League Pass game.
I know.
That's kind of funny. I'm not with George on the Pelicans push because the inconsistencies continue for the Pelicans. They win some, they lose some. They look good some games and they don't other games. And it's a season and it depends. I don't know how much longer they're really gonna try at it with this 3 that they have. I don't know how much they want to play Lonzo Ball. He's probably worth every penny they're going to offer him and some, but I don't know what their big idea is because when you have a team like this, you would expect a little bit of a better record. George,
any rebuttal to that?
His inconsistency talk is valid, but their schedule I think is a little bit easier. I'm not sure, but the Spurs have been falling recently, and I just feel like, just Zion and Zion alone with him.
Buddy, I wouldn't say that their schedule is easy. They close out Philly, Charlotte, Memphis, Dallas, Warriors, and then Lakers. That's not an easy schedule.
Let's be real. Lakers might rest. Warriors, who knows where they're going to be.
Lakers ain't resting if they 1 game back from the Blazers in the play-in.
I don't know if we'll get there.
Oh, JoJo Zion Friday.
Ooh, I'm excited for that. Moving on, Knicks beat the Grizzlies 118-104, and it was the D Rose show. This was kind of just
absolute abuse.
Yeah, he came off the bench, 26 minutes, 25 points, 11 for 15 from the field. This was kind of just I don't know who fixed his knees.
No.
But what do you want to add? What do you want to add?
No, I know you're gonna mention it in the stat, so I'll let you continue. But
well, what am I gonna mention? Well, you take this one. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, dude!
Uh-oh.
It wasn't even offense. He put in the poor soul. John Morant was getting outplayed by the guy that we all compare him to. It was not good. It was not pretty.
Yeah, John Morant 2 for 14, 8 points. Green light Dylan Brooks, 25 points, led them in scoring there. The Knicks had a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. It wasn't a very close game. I'll start with you, George, here. What did you take away from this one? Like I said, D-Rose, but Knicks are 12-1 in their last 13. Bit of an ESPN stat, capping at 13 games, but they got a lot of momentum going to the playoffs.
Did D-Rose close? Can someone confirm for me that? Or
there wasn't really a closing lineup because they did take a 17-point lead into the fourth.
I know that we've been kind of vouching for a different starter besides Elfrid Payton, but I think what Tibbs is doing with how he has the lineup set up, I'm actually a fan because I think earlier on we didn't like it as much, but bringing Rose off the bench, and it also preserves him because Josh is like, oh, how are his knees still working? He's only playing like 25 minutes, and he's getting crucial minutes he's a former MVP. He's going to help you out. He's going to get you, crunch time buckets. And I just think, with IQ there, it helps him out too a little bit. And just that when you have a guy like Derrick Rose as, leading your second unit, I think that goes a far way in their success because I've been one to, like with the Lakers, I wanted Marc Gasol out in the second unit because a guy like that helps the team, facilitate playmake and get easier shots. So I like what they're doing with D-Rose coming off the bench.
I would like to segue into Lakers, but I have a little more to add on this one. Alec Burks is back for the Knicks, and he was closing for them in that big winning stretch. And like I said, we didn't get to see it this game just because it was kind of a blowout. But yeah, their closing lineup is normally Randall Barrett, Reggie Bullock, and then Alec Burks and either Taj Gibson or Noel. Noel was out this game.
Closing games, man. This isn't 2012.
Well, they're missing Noel and Robinson. I don't know if you guys have updates on Noel. I didn't know.
X-rays were negative, so he might not be out that long.
Okay, well that's good because Noel's been playing really good. Ethan, we kind of touched on Memphis here. They got locked down by the Knicks.
Last thing,
Tibbs defense, baby.
This is a little bit concerning. Mr. Tony Brothers had the very good honor of ejecting John Morant and Taylor Jenkins at the end of that game. So
you get an ejection. You get an ejection. Y'all get an ejection.
Thank you, Oprah. But getting back to a serious point, I know Tony Brothers is kind of like an accredited referee at this point. He kind of gets put with the responsibility of all the big games. And to be honest, it didn't look like it was a crazy amount. Taylor Jenkins was probably valid because he's just screaming and yelling at the point. It was pretty bad. But Ja getting ejected like that, I'm not entirely sure I agree with it too much. But Dylan Brooks also got a technical. So there's like about 5 technicals given in about 5 minutes. So it was a pretty drastic ending scene there. I don't know how that's going to translate come playoff time.
And then that's a good lob up to they didn't rescind Luka's technical because I know there was talk about rescinding one. He's one technical away from missing a game, and I think it carries into the playoffs.
It will.
So it does. So if he gets technical in the playoffs, like the first time he misses a game.
Yep. Just like what happened with Draymond.
Well, Draymond was flagrant, so that's why I didn't know if it was different. And I didn't know if it was flagrant. I didn't know if it was like playoffs, like you get like 5 in the playoffs and you get 6 or.
No,
oh wow! So yeah, they didn't rescind Lucas. He will miss a game eventually because that boy do be complaining. And
honestly, because sometimes people say players or coaches need to get technicals to fire up their team or back their boys or whatever. But a lot of these tees from Luka are just kind of. I mean, they don't completely cost them, but just unnecessary. A few of them. I'm not going to say all of them are, but
do you mean unnecessary as far as he doesn't deserve them, or just shut up and play Luka?
Going too far. I think he goes a little bit too far in some of them. And, it's you kind of need to know, you kind of need to be like because he is the leader of their team, and you kind of have to set a precedent there. And, you know how huge of a blow that would be if they were up like 1-0 and he gets attacked in game 2, and then, the other team goes on a run, it's 1-1, and, So I'm not going to be like, oh, Luka needs to be more composed and all this. I'm not going to critique him for it, but I just hope it doesn't affect them negatively down the stretch.
Well, I think he does though, because like you said, he's gonna miss a game. And
he's getting another tag. Yeah, he's gonna get.
He's
another
not
one.
gonna. It's not gonna. Oh, playoff time. I'm gonna shut up. No, he's Luka. He's gonna. He's always freaking out. He's doing the Andre Iguodala like arms in the front like that. He's always freaking out.
Or the Bron. Yeah, he's like looking up and all that.
But yeah, I mean, I guess this is the first time because you said most Lukas are valid, so you're kind of saying there. And then Josh brought up that the refs hopefully because Tony Brothers is very respected. He's been a ref since I've been watching basketball, so I hopefully this will the whistle in the playoffs. Last game of Monday, Lakers beat the Nuggets 93-89. And I know George watched this one. Was it your look ahead?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
It was.
I made fun of him for it, actually.
Well, also it's a losing team. Jokic at 32-9-5. Did take him 28 shots to get there. Michael Porter Jr. did stay efficient, over 50%, 19 points. And not a whole lot else. One other double-figure score, JaVale McGee, 10 points in 12 minutes. But that was kind of against Trez, just kind of getting dump-offs there. So, I mean, that's not too impressive. Jack. And then on the Lakers side, let's see, 5 players scoring double figures. Anthony Davis leads him at 25. Didn't look like normal AD, but he was hitting those tough shots, like those little floaters in the lane there. Yeah, he's looking like A Disney, but at least he has the AD in there. He's not Anthony Davis, under 50%. Kuzma kind of stayed on defense, not a whole lot of offense. George, what did you see here?
Yeah, AD had a game-winning block there at the end. He had 1 foot in the paint, and Campazzo was already starting to shoot, and he got out there and somehow blocked it. I mean, it was crazy, but Campazzo's 6 foot, so whatever. I guess we're not going to harp on it too much. Marc Gasol was huge for the Lakers in this game, especially in that third quarter stretch when they went on a 13-2 run. He was incredible defending Jokic, throwing transition passes, hitting threes. Lakers defense was pretty sound on Jokic. I mean, I know he had 32, but getting 28 shots is effective on the defensive side. And MPJ,
who was the main defender? Because I couldn't catch.
It was Drummond.
It was Drummond. Parts of the game.
It was Drummond and Jokic. AD didn't really switch on to him much.
What about Mark?
Sorry, I meant Drummond and Mark. Not Drummond and Jokic. My bad.
And how did Drummond do on him? Because I have to bring up that this was kind of the game I've been kind of alluding to. Drummond is not going to help this team win.
Physically sound, he was fine. He wasn't getting beat a lot, but Jokic is quick and he has the intangibles to go do reverses and hit shots over him. I would say Drummond was all right. He wasn't getting cooked, but Mark was way leaps and bounds better on that matchup. But yeah, MPJ really struggled up until that fourth quarter run. I mean, I think he had 5, so their defense was all around pretty good against Denver.
So yeah, before I get to Josh, I gotta do it to him.
The MPJ slander?
No, Andre Drummond slander. So I'm gonna name some stats: minus 11, 3 turnovers, 5 fouls, and 0 rebounds for Andre Drummond.
How many points did he have?
4 on 2 for 5 in 22 minutes.
Efficient.
Not efficient. So where do you stand? Because I know you like Mark, and I know you've been defending Andre Drummond.
I love Mark.
So where does Andre Drummond fit in? Because I asked Jay Sports, and I was asking for the specific matchups, and he said non-versatile bigs. But who's non-versatile big? Yusuf Nurkic, and he sets screens for Damian Lillard. Andre
don't put Drummond in drop. Okay.
So where does Drummond have a role on this team?
Yeah, so I vouched for wanting Drummond, but in the sense that he wasn't gonna take, Mark wasn't gonna get DMP'd. I said I wanted Mark off the bench for 15 minutes, which I mean wasn't wild because he was already getting 19 as a starter. And I mean, maybe a JaVale role. I said Dwight role originally. I just don't think he can fill that. For Drummond, 6-minute shifts, maybe a little bit more, but he had 20 minutes in that game, and I thought that was fine. But I don't know, he shouldn't be getting north of 25 or anything. And I think Mark is just almost the best in really any matchup, just because spacing the floor, and he defends well on basically anyone, unless it's some crazy athletic big, which you probably won't be seeing deep into the playoffs unless you think Ayton is some crazy mismatch, which I don't think so.
So, Josh, I'll finally let you get a little into here. I'll lob you a question here. So, me and George were talking about this. So, there's Drummond, there's Mark, and there's Trez. We were asking who's going to be the odd man out there because AD and Keith are going to get their minutes just because they're versatile and one's AD. It looked like here So Andre Drummond 22 minutes, but he sat most of the second half. Marcus Gasol 17 minutes. Trez was the odd man out with less than 10 minutes. Do you agree with that rotation by Vogel?
For this game, yeah.
For against the Nuggets or just this game? Because we'll see the Nuggets first round.
Nuggets.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch, Lehman. We're playing the Clippers as of right now.
So you think Trez is you'd sit Trez down kind of? Is he a DNP or?
No, because there are moments where they have to take Jokic out. It's very slim moments, and I think that Trez maybe can play the 4 at certain times. It just kind of depends on who's out on the floor at the moment. But I don't think he's a DNP. He's a pretty valuable player in his own respect. So I wouldn't DNP him, but I don't think he should be getting a majority of the minutes, especially because he just becomes an instant target for switching.
I know you're a big MPJ guy, so I'll ask Nuggets questions here. You worried about this game because they're pretty much fully healthy as far as what they have to offer. No Will Barton, no Monte Morris. But no shooter, no LeBron for Lakers. Only scored 89 points, and Jokic kind of struggled against the Lakers defense.
Don't call Millsap either.
Lakers defense has also, been one of the best, if not the best all year, and they also just went on a 9-1, a game streak out of 10 games. So I don't think we should be like incredibly worried because they won 9 of 10. So this was just like a slip-up game.
George actually just grabbing the words out of my uvula and throwing them out into existence. No, I don't think this is kind of what I thought the Nuggets would be without Jamal Murray. I thought they would just kind of struggle a little bit, but I mean they've kind of exceeded expectations. Like George said, it's just a slip up game.
Well, the Nuggets didn't play any teams that were too impressive. I mean, the best team they played was
strength.
I'm just saying
the
best team they played was the Grizzlies. They beat the Rockets twice. They lost the
Warriors. But these aren't games that are
Toronto.
Close. These aren't games that are close. These are games where they're like full blown smoking them from the get go.
Beat the Blazers 106-105. Beat the Pelicans 112-114. I mean,
so it was an issue when the Lakers lost, but now when they win, it's like Nuggets schedule ain't looking too impressive.
No, I'm not high on either of them. I'm more worried about the Lakers than the Nuggets.
I think it's a slip up. I don't think it's a big deal because you look at the stats for this game, and if the Nuggets do a couple things, they win the game. And then voila, they're still on like a win streak. But I still think they've been far more. They've exceeded expectations, especially when you lose a guard like Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. Tuesday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Suns beat the Cavs 134-118. Hornets beat the Pistons 102-99. Mavs beat the Heat 123-113. Pelicans beat the Warriors 108-103. Kings beat the Thunder 103-99. Hope no one watched that game. Clippers beat the Raps 105-100. Clippers kind of come from behind right there. Raps hung with them the whole game. We're going to talk about the big end that happened. I'm going to have you guys touch on just a few ones that I named that you want to touch a little bit more on. But the big one, Bucks and Nets linked up again. This time it was not a sneaky link. This was in broad daylight. This was an actual date. And the Bucks beat the Nets again. 124-118. I can name all the stats I want, but it was the same thing as kind of last time. Giannis versus KD. I'll start the conversation off here. First game, it seemed like it was, we're going to make Giannis beat us, take away everyone else, give Giannis the jump shots, give Giannis the post hooks, everything will go one-on-one coverage with him. And he scored 49. And in this game, he scores 36, but they let other people beat them as well. So they didn't pick a poison. They let Giannis get going, and they let guys like Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton get going as well. So, George, talk to me about this one.
So yeah, this is a good sign for the Bucks, getting those the two others of the big three in Drew and Chris going 23 apiece. Yanni, he did get his 30 shots though. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's totally concerning because he's not gonna take that amount of volume in the playoffs. But I'm kind of concerned about the Nets defense on him. They just have nothing to throw at him. They're just doing like 1v1s, and he will take advantage of that every single time. So
yeah, Steve Nash did the coach thing last game where they're like, he was like, there's no strategy for Giannis, that, and then he threw a new strategy at Giannis and it didn't work either. So that coach staff is known for their defense, really. So, I mean, I don't know if they got to watch some Toronto Raptors film and figure out how to stop this guy, but they just don't have the personnel. They don't.
And letting him go one-on-one, getting downhill and going to the rim. I mean, that's like, what he's been doing, all year in the regular season. And if you allow that in the playoffs, they could go home early. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if they're going to have something else cooking up in the playoffs, but I mean, if they're not, then that's a good sign for the Bucks moving forward, especially with the rest of the team's performance. So,
Josh, you and Shaq kind of coined the term timely stops, outscored by 8 in the fourth quarter. I saw the stat. Brooklyn Nets 33-2 when leading going into the fourth quarter. Milwaukee Bucks 1-18 while trailing going into the fourth quarter, and they won. So this was a complete blunder by the Nets. How you feeling?
Good.
Not great.
I mean,
it should be great.
Thanks, Kawhi, for the one-word answer.
I mean, no, I still feel good about this game. I don't think that I'm still a firm believer that not all three of Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday are going to show up in that series. And I'm more so glad that it still looks like Kevin Durant can get whatever he want. Whenever he want. And I mean, Kyrie Irving played a really good game. He kind of disappeared towards the end. But again, the Bucks, I honestly think that this is kind of like I'm torn because a part of me goes like Steve Nash isn't really going to like pull out the big guns for like what their game plan is to stop Giannis in a regular season matchup, even if they lose. And this team is far more playoff experienced than we kind of think. So I don't think that they're really going to be too worried about that. And then the other half of me goes, well, they have Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni. So do you think that they just want to outscore the Bucks and like just hope that their three Hall of Famers can get it done? Like I'm torn in between which part of my brain I'm going to allow to speak my opinion. But I mean, the Bucks played a very good baseball series. These are very good wins for Milwaukee, especially because of the stat that you named. And I say timely stops. I mean, timely stops, like they don't get stops against guys like Giannis. They get stops against teams that are rolling.
You know who the second and 3 seed are? Joel Embiid and Giannis. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. So like I still think conference final is their floor. I still think that if they played the Bucks in a best of 7, they're going to beat the Bucks in a best of 7. And again, I think a lot of people are underestimating the James Harden return because again, this is KD and Kyrie. So once Harden comes back, we're looking at a complete.
They're going to score more than 118. You're going to score 130 in the playoffs. That'd be unheard of. Their issue isn't scoring.
Do you guys
Go ahead,
George.
Do you guys think they're going to try and employ some sort of defensive strategy, or it's just going to be, the typical D'Antoni?
Oh, they have to figure something out because
you don't think they're going to do the D'Antoni switch it on defense?
They should incorporate something, and I'm hoping Steve Nash kind of takes that initiative. Do I think they will? I'm still kind of torn.
So Josh,
because these were, it's not going to stop your question. These are kind of like the basic ones, like, oh, we let Giannis beat us, or we make the other people beat us, and neither of them works. Now you got to get some more complex. George, what was your question going to be?
I was going to say, so Josh, you're confident enough that even with Harden coming back, that the defense won't be, fall off even less. I know Harden isn't like a terribly crazy or terribly bad defender, but you're acting like Harden's going to come back and their score is going to jump like 15 points. We know that's not how it works. The ball has to be integrated more. Harden has to get his shots, and then on the defensive side, it's Harden going to get
the guy that led the league in assists before he got hurt. That guy. Is that the guy you're talking about?
I'm just saying because
no, the guy they have to sub out Uncle JG for in the starting lineup who gives you defense for James Harden.
I'm just saying, a lot of people have been like, oh, Nets only lost by 3 in the first game.
Jeff Green's playing center against the Bucks.
Not against Giannis.
To wrap this up, I'm just saying, people are like, oh, Nets only lost by 3 in the first game, and integrate Harden. It's not going to automatically go from lose by 3 and integrate Harden's 27 points and win by 24. That's
Josh is upset.
All right, wait a second. 11 of 30 for Giannis today. Also, I knew he didn't shoot too great, But all the shots you guys were talking about that that they were giving him, he was making, and now here he is.
Okay,
36%,
but so they win one game.
33% from 3.
They win one game. Giannis does everything. Giannis fails a little bit. Yeah, 11 for 30, not good. Guess what? Middleton and Drew Holiday combined for 46 points on above 50% shooting.
If this was last year's playoffs, they get wiped off the floor. Guess what they have the luxury of now? Drew Holiday. And if Chris Middleton can step up better than last year.
Also, Dante DiVincenzo, 15 boards.
It is a genuine miracle to think that George is sitting here confidently saying, "Oh, Drew Holiday is going to boost Milwaukee more than James Harden is going to boost."
No, he's not saying
that.
He's saying the Bucks' ceiling with Drew Holiday is exponentially better than it was last year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm saying the Bucks can get away with a performance like this now that they have Drew. I'm not saying that it's going to make them automatically beat the Nets.
I don't think they can with a fully healthy Nets team. I don't think they can.
We'll have to wait.
I'm going to say right now, I think you're overestimating how much James Harden is going to do for this team because there's guys stepping up. You know, Mike James, 10 points. Blake Griffin, 9 points. Joe Harris, 12 points. JG, 10 points.
And those shots, Blake Griffin, 9 points.
Those points won't be there because Harden will be soaking them up.
And you know,
they're not going to score 130 a game in the playoffs. That's not how the playoffs work. So they're
it's also a lot more half-court offense. The game slows down. You just don't get enough possessions. And Lehman does make a point, you know, when they do eventually get Harden back, if it is the first game in the first round, it's also going to be how do the bench players, you know, integrate with a full big three? They haven't had that much, if at all, this season. You know, has Blake even played with the big three yet? I don't think so. So we'll see.
One thing, just 30 seconds because I thought of it, George. We talked about the Heat, if they can get an offense catch with their defense. Is this they're a title contending team? Is that the Bucks?
You mean? No, I'm far less concerned with the Bucks on that end.
Well, no, are the Bucks a team like that? Are the Bucks? What would happen if Miami's offense caught up with their defense?
I mean, I guess, but that's a lot of offense. That's a lot of offense you're talking about. But sure, hypothetically, yeah.
I'm not saying the Heat will do that, but I'm saying we've been looking for a team that if the Heat could do that, they could take the Nets.
Yeah. If they had enough offensive firepower, yes.
Could have explained a little better.
Yeah.
So we are going to kind of just not a whole lot of great games on Tuesday, but some stuff to touch on there. I'll start with you, Josh. What game do you want to kind of attack besides the Bucks Nets?
Just quickly. Because I kind of want to re-emphasize how good the Cavs rotation is. They lost in OT, 134-118. They got absolutely steamrolled in the overtime. It was not
20-4.
Yeah, it was not good. But, however, Isaac Okoro finally showed out. 16 shots, 32 points, 6 assists. This is kind of the game I've been waiting for because I know that he has the potential to kind of be like his own scorer. He's also a phenomenal defender. That's kind of the reason they drafted him because I as much as we love Sexton, they are a liability on defense sometimes because of height. Okoro brings that, and he brings athleticism, and he finally showed out. Sexton did his thing, 29-7-7. I know this is kind of a slip up for the Nets the Suns, and we've kind of seen them do this. They picked it up obviously in OT, but again, I think that the Cavs might have 4 or 5 players that they can just genuinely keep to rebuild, and that's something a lot of teams can't say, especially considering the fact that they are, I think, second to last in the East. And if you look at the team right under them and the team right above them, they do not have the same pieces that the Cleveland Cavaliers have. So hopefully they're able to figure it out. I think it's kind of like a front office thing. I think they needed a new identity in the front office, and I think they need to, build up their bench because when some of the scoring options come off, they become a practical garbage truck. They become a middle school team when Colin Sexton isn't there to put the ball in the basket sometimes. So
they hate Colin Sexton too, supposedly.
So, yeah, we'll get to that. Phoenix is very lucky they've been healthy because they have a lot of games like this where like they don't. This isn't what the Phoenix Suns. They're not fluke like contenders. We're like, oh, this is what they actually play like. No, they're a really good team, but they fall asleep.
They play down to their opponent.
They fall asleep like 1/3 of the games of the year. And if they weren't healthy, if they had injuries, they would not be.
The Chris Paul crisis.
What happens if Chris Paul gets hurt in the playoffs?
They lose. That's what happens.
They lose every game after that. Actually,
they go sicko mode, Rockets edition. That's what they do. Yeah. Thank you. You kind of broke that down for me. I like that. George, what game do you want to touch on here?
I have the second half of the baseball style series between the Pelicans and Warriors. Pelicans got a win here by 5, 108-103. Some very interesting things happened in this game. Throwback to the 2011 Super Bowl, 2012? I know Josh doesn't want to talk about it, but the lights went out in the Pelicans arena. Steph had 35 on 12 of 20 before this happened.
It was 2012.
Post lights going out, 2 points on 1 of 11, and it's kind of like the same thing that happened. Actually, no, in that Super Bowl game, the Niners got momentum.
No, it's like when the cramp got the AC turned off, and then he couldn't play well after that. That's what
basically. So, Warriors uncharacteristic choke. Actually, not really 2016, but Lonzo was incredible. 7 for 13 from 3, 33 points. I mean, I know he had a really bad game like a few games ago, but outside of that, he's been pretty solid offensively this season. He's kind of finding his mark on that end, and he's probably going to command a pretty big free agency bag, which I don't know if David Griffin's going to want to pay him. But silver lining to end this off, 2 games out for New Orleans with the 10 seed. I picked them to make that, so let's hope.
Would you pay Lonzo? Let's say he wants 20 mil.
I'd pay him 20 mil. He's only 23. I mean, he's only going to get more consistent, and if he can, because I know we've talked about his defense and what we think of him versus other starting point guards. He can become an all NBA level defender, which I think he can soon. And he's only 23. He has a lot of potential. You kind of want to lock him in because 20 mil, the cap's also going to rise in a few years once we get more fans back in the stands. I think that's going to be a bargain for him.
Okay.
20 mil bargain for Lonzo Ball?
Hold on.
In a few years, potentially, we could look back on it being a bargain, I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I don't want to touch up on that because he kind of has a point with the Lonzo Ball thing. It could happen. You never know. And it's just one of those players where it's like he may not be worth the money now, but it's like an investment. We had the talk with Ben Simmons about it, or like when he got his extension. But I'm looking at the Spurs schedule, and oh my gosh, they have a Russian roulette. They have one bad game against the Kings, and the rest Jazz, Blazers, Bucks, Nets. They go to New York, and then they play the Suns twice. So I don't know if CP's going to get his rest there.
My boy DeMar needs to come through.
the Spurs, not going to lie, have been this last 4-game stretch that they've had is kind of bad because they keep losing these really close games. They lost to the Heat really close. Jason Tatum had to drop 60, and they lost a close game. Ben Simmons tipping. They've just had bad luck, and they lost to the Jazz without Donovan Mitchell and I believe Mike Conley also. So not very lucky. I still think the Spurs will sneak in there. I'm not on the George train, but it's a toughie.
I don't have a specific stat, but as someone who keeps a close eye on the Spurs, just because I like their roster, they lose so many overtime games and so many close games like you were talking about. I want to see the stat at the end of the year. I guarantee they're probably 2-10 in overtime games, and they go to a lot of them. It just doesn't work out for them. Another thing, just to piggyback on George for the Pelicans, a good stat for one stat I have to give the Pelicans. Young team. Not great at closing out games. They don't like following Stan Van Gundy's instructions. Outscore the Warriors by 9 in the fourth quarter and win by 5. So they're obviously trailing going into there. So kind of rally back there. I'm going to touch on the Mavs and Heat. One, because Tim Hardaway Jr. and he might win player of the week. I don't know when they cut it, but he's dropped 43 and then 36 in this one. And they put him in the starting lineup because were they missing anyone? Yeah, when they miss Porzingis, they slide him in there. And he plays the 3 for them, and they slide Willie Cauley-Stein to the 5. He's their 6th man, but he just drops buckets sometimes. But main thing I want to focus on here. So no Jimmy Butler, but I don't know how confident I'm in this Heat team. Just because I've seen it the last few weeks, I don't know if they get out of a first-round series if they get anything other than a 4-5 matchup. Because I know Josh has them against the Bucks if they link up, but I mean I'd probably take the Knicks over them. So I don't really see them getting out of the first round. Do you guys disagree with me there? Or am I giving a hot take?
No, I agree with you. Unfortunately, I've kind of sold my stock on the Heat. Only only way is if Depot somehow returns healthy. I don't even know if he's returning this season. I said maybe if Harden wasn't playing, they could beat the Nets, but I've retracted that statement.
Thank God.
I don't see it at all.
Now we can monetize the podcast.
I'm in the same boat as you.
I think
yeah, Josh.
Yeah, I think a lot of what happened last year was just because teams were underestimating how good they were.
Mickey Mouse.
Not Mickey Mouse, but just like the expectations were a bit higher. Jack Harlow's playing Tyler Hero, and Tyler Hero's rapping for Jack Harlow. So until they Freaky Friday their way back, and
Told me this summer he gonna fix my jumper. Little do we know he needs his jumper fixed.
Oh, George is vibing.
It's kind of difficult for me to root for but it's kind of difficult for me to pick the Heat. However, the one special case they have is the Milwaukee Bucks. So
no, it's different. It's different. I promise you, it's different.
I don't want to spoil a playoff preview because maybe they link up in a 2-7 matchup.
6.
But are you saying like you might take it's going to go long if it's the Heat Bucks?
It'll go long. I don't know how many games, but I don't know, man. There's something about
money on this.
I'll bet
Jimmy
some
Butler. Playoff Jimmy Butler.
Well, that was the recap. Short and sweet as always. George, halftime. Halftime for 2 reasons. Half of the show, George the half hooper. He's also half asleep. So George, take it away.
We're going to start with some old man yells at clouds type stuff, but it also involves Richard Jefferson. So Skip Bayless tweeted out at Richard Jefferson saying, now kissing back to LeBron on the Gilbert Arenas podcast, saying LeBron is a better scorer than MJ. RJ obviously needs to LBJ back on his tripping podcast. So transparent and absurd. And RJ quote tweeted it saying, can someone please explain to this senile old man I work for ESPN, the network that has basketball. I can't even go onto a show at Fox. He knows that's why he shoots these dusty blanks. Why don't you hobble your old expletive onto road tripping pod? No networks and no restrictions. So Lehman showed this one to me and said that we should talk about this one. So I'm going to leave the open floor to you because I have really nothing much more to ask. So take it away, Lehman.
I don't have a whole lot to add. It was just super funny. I know. So talk about RJ, and I was like, I want
old man.
Yeah. So RJ, we know RJ's a comedian. He hangs out with Channing Frye. They're just a good duo. I don't know what he didn't really defend himself. As far as like getting back on the LBJ train. He just said, let's talk it out. He basically did the equivalent of like they're arguing in a bar, like civilly, and then he's like, you want to take this outside? That's what he said to Skip. So, I mean, I don't know what he wants to talk about on the Road Tripping podcast, but he makes a great point to Skip that he can't really fire back at Skip because he works for ESPN and Skip works for Fox.
Josh, you got anything to add?
It's just funny. I love when like the retired players come and like for a good year or so they just like make fun of just pure analysts, and then they all become Paul Pierce. All of them. They all do. Kendrick Perkins, funniest man. Like the first year that he was doing it, he was just making fun of analysts, and then he became Paul Pierce.
Well, they'll cut you if you don't become like someone normal. Like, look at Ryan Hollins.
It's like brainwashing. It's like genuine brainwashing.
Ryan Hollins came on. He was like, this, that. Not a single correct take. Not a single correct take besides Luka Doncic, you go number 1 in the draft. Everything else was off the dome. He was like George operating at 4:30 a.m. It was not good. And then they fired him.
Currently 4:30 a.m. Okay. Thank you very much, Lehman.
So, yeah, you kind of got to get your act together. But, yeah, not a whole lot to add there. I just thought it was really funny.
All right, moving on. Amid a year of difficulties with players and staff, Pacers coach, not even going to pronounce it.
Nate Bjorken.
Nate Bjorken. Did I say that right? Anyways, his future with the franchise is uncertain. Pacers are 30-34, ninth place in the Eastern Conference. He has work to do on relationships, supposedly, from Woj with key players in the locker room, so I guess he doesn't have control of that. So what I'm going to want to ask is, do you think he's fired at the end of the year, and where do they go with a potential replacement? I don't even know who's on that staff. Is he a Pop disciple?
I don't know for sure. I know he was on the staff with McMillan, and he got promoted from within. That's the only thing I know about him.
All I'm going to say here is I don't know why they fired McMillan. I mean, he has great success now with Atlanta, and it kind of didn't make sense for them firing him because, they ran into like 2018 playoff LeBron, which is like one of the best we've ever seen. And who they run into in 2019? Or did they not make the playoffs then?
2019 was the year before the bubble.
Yeah. Was it Raptors? Or Sixers?
Who was it, Josh? Or did they miss?
Anyway, someone can look that up, but I just felt like he was dealt an unfair hand just because he kept running into like the top teams, and it's just like nothing you can do. So I felt like it was a little premature on firing him. But do you think he's fired, and who did they bring in, Josh?
I think so, just because they just lost their best player. They played the Celtics and they got swept. No, yeah.
Oh,
oof. Wow. Eesh.
Well, that team made the conference finals. Cavs make the finals. Heat make the finals. So Georgia's point does still stand.
Yeah.
As far as like competition.
I mean, yeah, they just lost Oladipo to just player personnel and that kind of like morale and chemistry thing. So I think just to prevent anything from exploding within, I think Larry Bird will be pretty prominent on he wants all of his guys to work collectively, especially because that's the Pacers' identity. Like, I know they have Sabonis as like their number one, but they work the best when they have all their guys. It's not like a clear-cut guy that's like the number one superstar. He's not like a billboard guy. Like, when you look at Indiana, you think about how like well in depth they are with their roster. So I think they definitely have to fix that.
Lehman?
Josh, every point Josh made is correct, but I don't see him getting fired, just because if you guys can name the last coach that got fired after 1 year, I'd be pretty shocked. I think he gets at least one more year, whether it's earned or not.
Mike Brown.
But was Mike Brown?
No, he was fired like 6 games into that second season.
He went 1-3 in his second season. He got picked up. Now, if Bjorkman was fired 5 games in the next season, I'd be all for it. But he's gonna at least be coaching for the first game next season. People forget how good they started the year. I know J Sports doesn't because they're Sabonis guys, but they started the year very well. And then as soon as injuries happened and as soon as they traded Oladipo, they were getting a player who I thought was better in LeVert, but then he missed a good 30 games. They missed T.J. Warren the whole year, almost all of Jeremy Lamb this year. And there's excuses there, but also if it's player personnel, Josh hits it on the nose. You need to like get that in. You're the coach, and these guys probably love Nate McMillan. I know the Atlanta Hawks players love Nate McMillan. Brogdon, also as for injuries go, Brogdon played 56 out of the 64 this year. Sabonis 55 and Turner 47. So they have battled injuries.
So the last coach to be fired after their first year, Igor Kokoskov, the Phoenix coach, when when they got Monty. Yeah. And then also D'Antoni, when he was with Denver. I don't even remember him being with Denver, but yeah.
Short leash.
Fired in his first season.
Was that one of his first gigs, or was that like
1999? He went 14 and 36, and then he went to Phoenix after that. So
we know how that turned out.
Yeah.
Silly Denver.
But moving on, we have 2 injury updates here to end the segment. So LeBron is going to miss these next 2 games. It says he's expected to. I think he could potentially come back against that Portland game because it is important for seeding, seeing what happens if we do beat or lose to the Clippers. But anyways, we're going to speculate like he misses 2 games. What I want to ask you guys is, are you concerned about his body going into the playoffs? Because, high ankle sprains for like any athlete in their prime, because, in football, it's a demoralizing injury. So are you guys concerned, or you think he's just making sure he's 100%? Lehman?
I'm done trying to figure out LeBron.
We text about this all the time, man.
Such a little drama queen. I need this attention. Here's a selfie with my boot on. Here, I got swept in the finals. Here's my wrist cast. Look at me. I played the whole year with my wrist injured. All this, this. He's just covering his tracks at this point. Now, this is a lot more serious. High ankle sprain. I'm sure he was. Didn't just take 6 weeks off because he wanted to fake an injury. I'm sure he was injured. But he could be back tomorrow. Who knows? He's LeBron, and I just know if we flame out, he's gonna come. He's gonna hobble in with the walking boot on. It was broken this whole time. The foot, the ankle, the leg, it was all broken because LeBron couldn't win the finals.
But yeah, before we get to Josh, that Portland game, potential tie-breaking implications because it's 1-1 currently. Whoever wins that game gets the tiebreaker, and we don't have it against the Mavs. So if we don't have 2 tiebreakers against Mavs and Blazers, who are currently like 5 or 6 or 7. I mean, that's huge. That'll shift us back down to the play. And so that's why I think he could return. But Josh, what else do you have to add?
Did you hear what he said? I'll never be 100% healthy again.
Yeah, I know.
Oh. I mean, his stupid playing comments too. Front runner.
He's so upset.
That's so funny.
I mean,
He's just upset because he has to do more and he's older. He's becoming it's a miracle because he's the age of an old head, and here he is still producing like he's still 24. It's it's insane. But
he has unfair expectations, but he met them this year. So like,
yeah, I don't know. LeBron's such an interesting character. Lehman kind of hits it on the nose, but I do know, unless he's genuinely hurt, he is going to 0 dark 30 and lock in. I'm
praying to Zeus that it's all like a mirage. I really hope so.
If he's playing in the playoffs, we have a very good shot of winning.
Yeah, if anyone could, pick this up, then players are meshing together. People want, there's whispers in the locker room. You drop LeBron in there, he's the one who could fix it. So it's going to be up to him to save this Lakers season, that's for sure.
So really quick, another injury update. Tyrese Haliburton will be out for the year. No structural damage, ligament damage, but they're going to just shut him down. Josh actually brought this question up to me, so I'm going to give him his credit, and he can answer it first. So the 2-point guard lineup they ran, and Josh, do you think if it's going to work or not in the future?
This is so difficult because I really like Haliburton, and it's kind of hard to just look at somebody that was top 3 for most of the year and the Rookie of the Year standings and go maybe not. But the Kings struggled this year. I think that they should keep Haliburton until they address, because they definitely have more. They have bigger needs than worrying about Haliburton's future with the team. I think they need like stuff, especially in the paint. And they need to keep some guys and figure out what they want to do. Like they got their work cut out for them come this offseason. Haliburton's a very bright spot, and I think that if they choose to make him available, then they will definitely. I lost my track of that. They'll definitely be able to ship him for a good package because he's just been playing out of his mind. And I'm not entirely sure about the combo guard thing because they both look like playmaking point guards at first, but I know Fox is more than capable of becoming a scoring guard. It just depends on the transition. And you have to also wonder if his assist numbers take away from his game. Like if you make him just shoot purely, kind of like what the Kings did with Tyreek Evans when they took him away from the point guard role and they made him like just a scoring guard. It lowered his standard. So I don't know if they're worried about that, but I think that it was a good experiment. I think that they still roll with it and try to address their other needs in the offseason.
Well, since Scott Van Pelt gave us the rundown, what else you got, Lehman?
He has a lot of good points. I, for one, I like the Fox Haliburton backcourt. I think they can stick with that for sure. It's weird where Buddy fits in, but either they move him to 3 or they ship Buddy and keep Harry Barnes there just to get 20 a night. They're gonna have another lottery pick this year, so they should go. They should go big, kind of make up for the Marvin Bagley pick.
Please, man, please get a wing.
I like Rashawn Holmes, but if like they can get him. I don't know where they're gonna. If they could get like a Mobley, oh my goodness. Just any kind of big in the draft. George, is that the end of halftime?
Yes, sir. Short and sweet as always.
I do have one thing to add. Another injury update. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Their coach came out and said he has a significant tear. In his, I believe it's meniscus. I don't know for sure.
I thought it was a foot injury that kept him out.
It is a foot injury, but I feel like the woes was meniscus. If you could double check that for me, because I don't want to scare it, because meniscus is pretty serious. Yeah, he was shut down for the whole year, but this also kind of goes towards him wanting to play for Team USA. It's a month after the season ends, and if it's a significant tear,
plantar fascia, that's his foot.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he has a significant. You seem annoyed, but I'm not.
Bodily autonomy isn't your thing, Lehman. It's all right.
Yeah, neither his stats got a 52 today, but I mean, essentially, he's shut down for the season. But like I said, Team USA, he was want to play there. I'll just keep talking. We're moving on to the post-halftime topics. I got a few questions for you guys, and we're just gonna see where it goes. So
you didn't compliment George after the halftime.
Well, he kind of let me out the dry there, and he forgot SGA. So next time he'll get his flowers. This time, Also, center your camera. I just see your head.
It's funny. It's funny. I'm so far away, but you can hear me
bobblehead.
so well.
Why
Oh,
would
goodness.
you do that? Okay.
Jake,
So first question here.
Sorry.
Underwater.
Carmelo Anthony. I don't know if we could have covered it last pod, but I know very recently he moved in the top 10 in the all-time scoring list. So he's number 10 now. He should pass Moses Malone. So he scored 27K, roughly 27.3, and Moses Malone is 27.4. So he'll probably pass Moses right into the mic. You are tired. Okay. And he'll probably pass Moses this year, so he'll move into 9. Next up is Shaq with 28.5. Where do you guys see him finishing? Is he going to leapfrog Shaq? And if he does, will he catch Wilt at 31K? I'll start with George.
I think he gets past Shaq, but doesn't pass Wilt.
So he ends up at 8. So he's going to score. You have him scoring at least 1.2K more.
Put him in the Lou Will role for like 3 more years, and he gets it.
3 years. He's 37. Sheesh. Josh.
I don't think he passes Shaq. I think he's like at the 28.1, maybe high 27s. I don't think he gets there.
Fair enough. Next question. So we talk about it a lot. Players complaining about the play-in tourney. I want to hear you guys as fans and obviously respected analysts. Just give me like your quick thoughts and maybe a 1 through 10 rating of how much you want to see the play-in kept around. I'll go. Mine's a 9. I love it. I mean, having a podcast, there's a lot of things you need to talk about, and the play-in tourney gives us a lot to talk about. Josh.
I'm gonna say a 6 because while I like the idea of a plan, I think that it shouldn't really. I think the reason they did it was because we had that like 8-9 where the Nuggets and Timberwolves played each other that one year. I can't remember what year. I believe it was 2018 maybe, and the winner of that game.
Jimmy was in it, right?
Yeah.
So then 2018.
Oh, he's hurting his brain. Oh, God. There's steam coming out of his head. Oh, Lord.
Thank goodness he paused me for 10 seconds just to, validate what I originally said. But, like the winner of that game goes to playoffs, loser goes home. We don't really get that, but the atmosphere was a lot more different. I remember I wasn't even at home, but I was still tuning into that game, and that's not really like something that normal people would do. So I like the idea. I do think that I don't know how much I like the 10th seed, especially in the East. This isn't a knock on the Wizards at all, but I'm just saying, at this point, the Wizards are close enough for the 9th seed that they could just flip flop, and it could be like a Pacers out. Because I'm not entirely sure I really like the 10th seed there. I think that it should just be like an 8 and 9 battle or something relatively like that. I think that they should include a little bit less because then you're only stuck with like 5 teams. Whereas like 2/3 have a shot at making the playoffs rather than the half that we were at. That's kind of a big jump for me.
That's a nice little wrinkle you could add. Just the 8-9. So 7 solidified and 10 just nothing.
And the thing is, you can even do like reseeding. Like 6 through 9 has a play-in, but it's just reshuffled. There's only one playoff spot that's fought for rather than 2.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. George.
I agree with Josh to an extent. I do like the thought of it for this season, especially because of all the COVID issues and injuries we've had. It allows teams to be able to recover. Look at the Wizards, but I do have a problem with potentially being the 10 seed. And I know I love the Wizards story and Russ this season, but I just feel like because last season it was only 8-9 and it was a certain amount of games you had to be within. I think that should be implemented as well. Because what if the 10 seed, what if the Wizards were 6 games back of, the 9th seeded Pacers? I know that's probably impossible, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? What if
I'll bring up this to help your point. Wizards are 2 games back from the 8th seed.
Yeah.
And the Spurs are 1 game back from the 8th seed.
Okay, so see, those teams would actually be trying to compete in a normal season, and Wizards would be too. So, I mean, well, actually, to an extent, no. Would the Wizards have gone on that 8-game win streak to get themselves within, or would they have shut it down? So, I guess it is a good point there, but I do like the 8-9 more. Less chances to get in, higher stakes, and I also think cut back the games. I think it was 5 in the bubble you had to be within. I would like that too, but maybe it won't have to get to that.
Okay. Yeah, I think it should good just because, if we had, if the Wizards don't pull their head out of your you know what, and they're like 5 games back from the 8 seed, then it's like, okay, this is a little bit of a pity. They just have to win 1 game and they're in. That's a little odd, but
yeah,
they're all pretty close.
Also, another thing is that we've constantly harped about the fact that like teams just stop trying in the regular season. So instead of making it more competitive in another way, they just say, hey, we're just going to make more teams able to get into the playoffs, which gives teams more slack.
I really like your just 8-9. So we'll see how it goes this year. If it's exciting, then they're going to keep it because it's going to get views.
Yeah.
But I think you make a good point there. Just have the 8-9-7 solidified, because then we wouldn't have the Mavericks or the Lakers complain because they're not going to be the 8 seed. So,
I cannot believe LeBron said that.
I like when they complain. I think it's kind of goofy and funny.
It's
LeBron and Luka just being upset. It's fun. Okay, so next question. We all saw Kevin Love just freak out about a week ago. We kind of touched on it, but he needs to get out of Cleveland. Like, he just needs to get out of there.
Nobody's going to want him.
What's one player that needs to be traded this offseason? I'll start with George.
That's not Kevin Love?
It could be Kevin Love.
Okay, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say CJ McCollum. I'm sorry. I think they got to break it up. I know Dame and him are, butt buddies and whatever. I think some people on Twitter say they just think CJ's going to retire a Blazer the way it runs there. But I want Dame's prime to be maximized, and I think he should be moved. So.
Oh, yeah, because they're totally going to get a proper package for CJ McCollum, and Damian Lillard's morale.
Blow it up.
Blow
it up.
Josh.
I'm glad you have literally no soul and kind of don't understand the.
It is 3 a.m. I've been up since 8 a.m.
Stop flexing. You got up on time today.
Almost 24 hours.
Congratulations, George. That still doesn't change the fact that you turn off my team chemistry on my association. Anyways, now George got me all riled up, so now I can't even think of a player. I gotta go with the pick that I've been saying all year long, Kemba Walker. I know he's improved, but he just doesn't help the Boston Celtics, man.
To blow up the J Sports group chat.
I just don't know. And okay, that Kemba and John Collins, because I do think that John Collins is kind of lowering his.
He's a restricted free agent.
He is lowering his sign and trade. It's very possible. I think that his value with the team is lowered, and before it becomes to the point where he's just like solidified in his role, they should trade him just for the potential that he gives another team. I don't think that he's fitting very well with what the Hawks are doing, especially with the rise of the Trae Young, Clint Capella 1-2 punch. They've kind of just forgotten about John Collins. But I just like saying Kemba Walker trading because I love when J Sports, I imagine his face when he hears me say Kemba Walker needs to be traded from the Celtics. So.
Okay, so I promised that I'd have a quote here. So we're all familiar with NLE Choppa, right? Critically acclaimed rapper, shot flow 1 through 5.
Are you gonna start singing Camelot?
I could. You want me the whole? No, I'll do it in the next podcast.
I ain't gonna say too much.
So he tweeted before Zoe was popping off. He said, "You're an all-star next year. I can bet on it at ZO2." At Lonzo, so he has Lonzo Ball making his first all-star game next year. Who's going to be make their first all-star game next year? I'll start with Josh.
He's going to take
first
mine.
all-star year. Why doesn't George go first? Because I have a few in mind.
I actually have a few too.
Oh, you're both so good at this. Okay,
that's awesome.
We'll
I'll go then. I'll go because he was whining about me taking his, and then he's like, "Oh, wait, I have a few." I'm gonna go Christian Wood. I think that when they finally get their team developed, and was that yours? Was that yours?
One of two.
Oh, let me guess. The other one was De'Aaron Fox.
Nope.
Shai.
No, I think Christian Wood will definitely benefit from a healthy Rockets team, and I still would love them to take Evan Mobley because when Christian Wood becomes just a full perimeter threat, he just becomes a triple level scorer at 6'10", and he plays defense. Like there's no way that he doesn't put up all-star numbers next year.
George, since Lehman stole SGA from me, Colin Sexton. I thought he could have been close.
That was my second one.
I mean, I think he had 25 points per game this year, and I don't I don't know.
If the All-Star voting ended right after that Nets baseball series,
would have been a starter. Him and Beal.
No, him and Jaylen
Yeah,
Brown.
I don't necessarily know if he can dethrone any of the top guards, but we'll see. He's definitely deserving of one in these next few years.
Melo Ball. I think he joins the Luka Doncic, the Donovan Mitchell of making an All-Star game in your second year, which is pretty tough to do. But I think he can do it. He also has the popularity vote there. People vote him in. Second to last one here. So Tom Brady, I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with him. He was asked if he would trade 2 Super Bowls of his 7 rings to complete his 19-0 season that he choked against the Giants a few years back. And he said, I would, absolutely. What's one thing a player in the NBA would trade championships for? Or anything for? Money, accolades, just to get something that they want very badly. I'll start with George.
So this one's a little bit unique. I don't know how I'm going to be able to phrase it, but I think you guys will know what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to go with Isaiah Thomas. He kind of rushed himself back after injuring his hip against the Timberwolves, I believe, when he drove to the hoop and he kind of landed on Karl Towns. And he rushing back, he re-aggravated it in that conference finals against the Cavs. And then that was the season he was a free agent, missed out on a max contract, and was never the same. So I think maybe, if he had the chance to sit out, but I know he's a fierce competitor. I know he wasn't, especially because I think his sister died that year too. So, and I props to him for playing through that. Maybe he would have been more cautious, and because he lost a lot of money and potential. I mean, he was a top 5 MVP candidate. So I'm going to go with that one.
We'll see. That was the year. I'll just slightly correct you. He was traded to the Cavs the next year, and then he's a free agent after that. And I don't think any team really picked him up.
He was, but he was gonna get that contract.
Yeah, he was gonna get that bag for sure,
yeah.
even from Cleveland. And then he was traded to LA, but he was traded to LA because he rushed back. So good one. So does he trade it just for he doesn't rush back? Just he ups in time machine doesn't rush back?
Yeah, I'm saying just if he knew that was gonna happen, he probably would just sit out the whole season.
Fair enough, Josh.
So I've been thinking about it. Now I got a few of them. So
I want to hear all of them.
We'll quickly go down the list. The first one, I think Steve Nash would trade in both his MVPs for a shot at the 2007 finals. If you just think that Stoudemire and Boris Diaw don't get suspended in that horrific referee game, I think that Steve Nash would more than happily be an NBA champion. I still think he gets in the Hall of Fame because I still think they demolish the Cavs, maybe in 5 instead of 4. But I think that's a good one for an absolute win for all the Canadians in the world because Steve Nash, NBA champion.
You betcha.
The second one, I think Dwight Howard would give up the Superman label and one of his defensive player of the years if he could get Hedo Turkoglu to stay 1 extra year in Orlando, just because Hedo Turkoglu became absolutely useless when he wasn't in an Orlando Magic jersey. And if they keep that whole team and they still trade Courtney Lee for Vince Carter, that's Nelson, Carter, Turkoglu, Rashard Lewis, and Dwight Howard for you guys counting at home. That's a scary team. They made the conference finals that year.
Yeah, and that was 2010 or 2011?
2010.
So, ooh, wow, okay, yeah.
Lakers in 5.
So I don't know about that one, Chief. And the last one, I think T-Mac would give up all of his high-scoring seasons in Orlando if he could go back and fly to San Antonio and listen to the Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan dinner, because he probably would have signed it right there, or he would have gone and
that
stayed with Carter in Toronto.
Insane.
God. The Lakers are, I think the Lakers probably would have beaten.
They have 15 rings right now.
Wouldn't go that far. I was gonna say that I think the Raptors beat the Sixers if they have T-Mac because it was a 1-shot difference, and I do think that the Raptors would still lose to the 0-1 Lakers. But after that, it's fair game because the Lakers started going the decline. T-Mac had that 32-point per game season the year after. Vince Carter was still doing his thing. I don't think he goes to New Jersey. Oh, absolute win for the Canadians at this point. Like, I think my hypothetical should just give me I should just.
Steve Nash wins rings. The Toronto Raptors stay
T-Mac wins
relevant.
rings. The Raptors are champions before they're champions.
And maybe they don't hate Vince Carter for those 10 years because he left him and missed that game-winning shot.
Drake can't use being Canadian as a personality trait, so he actually has to do other things to get into the rap game. It's crazy.
And it doesn't involve rapping. He just keeps acting, and everyone wins in that regard. Oh, that'd be so awesome. Last one here. We're talking about Steve Nash so much. I'm sure everyone's familiar, and I'm just bringing this up so I can post the pictures in our Instagram post for this episode. But everyone's heard of Perk Nowitzki. When him and Steve Nash went partying that year. And,
town.
And I always thought it was one night, but there's multiple haircuts, multiple clothes of them partying. So they went multiple nights. They were party animals. I want to hear one or two players that you would want to take on the town with you. I'm gonna say you can't pick James Harden. You can't. I'm sorry. You can't pick James Harden because he's the first overall pick. No, he's the LeBron James of party animals. You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to do it.
Right.
So I'm gonna start with George so you can regroup, Josh.
I would absolutely love to see Nikola Jokic in a club, man. Oh my god.
Make me pop like that guy?
Oh, dude, I feel like that'd be funny. I mean, just like because I don't even know what would happen if the dude was intoxicated. I don't even know how he would act, like more goofy than he is now.
It works perfectly because George and Nikola Jokic, I think, would be
same
the same
body
person
type.
At the party. They're the guy that sits in the corner and goes, "They don't know this," while they're just sitting themselves in the corner. Same thing.
Him and Nikola Jokic show up, and it's like the mini me from Austin Powers. So just you don't got even another one, George, because that one's funny. But you have any other ones you want to throw out there?
Oh, I mean the obvious, like a J.R. Smith or a Deion Waiters, but no, nothing else.
Maybe Jokic brings a +1, Jamal Murray, and Jamal Murray brings his hot girlfriend, and then you guys go partying. That'd be a good time. Josh, who are you partying with?
Does it have to be a player still playing?
No, but he has to be what age he is right now.
Nick Young.
Oh yeah,
Nick Young and Steven Jackson. Steven Jackson. that's my
loud.
Wait,
that's my group.
I would have said Meta World Peace too.
Well, you can't say those two and leave one out. Matt Barnes is coming too. It's the whole
smoke.
Matt Barnes is coming, but Matt Barnes comes there, but we lose him in the party because he got arrested because he's beating up somebody.
And Gilbert Arenas is going in because he's Nick Young's best friend.
Gilbert Arenas is shooting up in the party. We didn't forget about the AK scandal, Gilbert.
He's the reason that Matt Barnes gets arrested. Whoa, George. You can't say. All right. Look ahead time. I'm going to make you go first, George, because you just said something very disrespectful in the chat.
Battle of LA, baby.
Oh, he has one.
Thursday, Battle of LA. Lakers, Clippers. LeBron's probably not going to play, but, homer pick. And Lakers did look good in their last game. 80's looking better. But we'll see what happens.
I want to know the last time George picked a look ahead that wasn't on national TV, so he didn't have to actually illegally stream anything. He just turns on ESPN.
I'm trying to not let Adam Silver dox me, man.
Josh, look ahead.
I'm going to cheat. Sorry, guys. I'm going to go with the East. My look ahead is going to be the East play-in because we have Russell Westbrook going to face Giannis and the Bucks Wednesday, 5 p.m. And then on Thursday, the Pacers play the Hawks, 5 p.m. And the Wizards play the Raptors. So 2 games for the Wizards, 1 game for the Pacers. The Pacers play the Kings. So both relatively competitive. Both have 1 competitive game and 1 not so competitive game. This is a big game. Most notably, definitely the Wizards Bucks. I want to see how Russell Westbrook is able to overcome the fact that Giannis is like 7'5" when he puts his hand up. But it'll be interesting to see how that shakes up because I believe they're tied right now. They are half a game apart.
Well, we're going to see Drew Holiday on Russ, which is going to be very, very interesting.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'll take the other one, TNT on Thursday. Nets Mavericks, lot of offense. Tune into that one. Probably going to be 140, 144.
First to 130 wins.
Hopefully, everyone will be playing in that one, besides obviously James Harden. But I mean,
Pingus
took last game off. He better play this one.
Oh, Dorian Finney-Smith on Kevin Durant. Oh no!
Don't stop hating on Finney-Smith, man. He didn't do anything to you. He's a fine player. I don't understand.
Dorian Finn-Mickey.
Oh, that's where we gotta end it now. So that's gonna do it. As always, thanks for listening or watching. And if you'd like to, make sure to follow us at THHoopers, Instagram and Twitter. I've come to the conclusion George has given up Twitter because his actual account is taking off. So he has no room for the THHoopers anymore. He might go Hollywood on us pretty soon. But tweet at George now.
G_Martin21, baby.
You'll know it's him because he's a fake ass Gucci belt in the profile. But you tweet at him, I guarantee you'll get a response. I guarantee you will.
Thanks, Chuck.
So that's gonna do it for tonight's episode. Thanks for being OG, and take care, everyone.
1 minute.